Hey guys, Azura here. Welcome back to UC Engage. This video, I'm gonna talk about the tier list for mobile suits. So we're gonna classify each mobile suit with their rank, so SS, S, A, and B. Alright, so for the SS tier, we have the Narrative Gundam, which is a red attribute mobile suit. It boosts red ally damage by 22% for 20 seconds. It has a single target damage attack with a 502 modifier. It also increases beam damage by 20% for 30 seconds at the start of battle. This mobile suit is really good if you have a red attribute team. Next is the Re-Gazi, increases damage of blue attribute allies or units by 22% for 20 seconds. It also has a single target attack that has a modifier of 578%. Lastly, it boosts beam damage by 20% for 30 seconds after the start of battle. And lastly, we have the Mobile Suit Gundam Green. This increases damage of green attribute allies by 22% for 20 seconds, 433% damage to one enemy that ignores defense. And lastly, it has beam damage increase when evading for 30 seconds after battle starts. So the SS tier mobile suits provide party-wide buffs based on their attributes. All the suits can benefit from the buffs as long as they are the same color as the unit. So these mobile suits are pretty flexible in terms of team building. You just need to put 4 more suits that are the same color as they are and you're good to go. Okay, moving on to S tier, we have the Nightingale from Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counter Attack. This increases beam damage for all allies by 30% for 20 seconds. It has a single target. It has an AoE attack that has a modifier of 406%. And lastly, it increases beam damage by 43% from the start of battle. Next is the Quibbly Mark II from Mobile Suit Gundam ZZ. Increases beam damage reduction. It gives beam damage reduction for all enemies by 34% for 20 seconds. It increases beam damage for all allies by 25% for 20 seconds. And lastly, it increases beam damage from 30 seconds at the start battle for itself. Next is Char's Zaku 2 from Mobile Suit Gundam. This has a single target attack that has a modifier of 502%. Pretty good. That stuns for 7 seconds. It also increases movement speed and projectile damage when evading. And it's really good attacker for projectile damage. Next is Zaku 1 or Charged Machine, Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin. This increases the damage of Zaku type allies by 22% for 20 seconds. It has a single target attack with an attack power of 578%. And lastly, it increases projectile damage when evading after the start of battle for 30 seconds. Next and last is the Unicorn Gundam from Mobile Suit Gundam U.C. Increases damage of machines using Psycho Frame by 22% for 20 seconds. Also has a single target attack with a modifier of 433 that ignores defense. And lastly, it increases beam damage when receiving damage 30 seconds after the start of battle. So S tier mobile suits have similar party-wide buffs, but inferior to the attribute buffs that SS tier mobile suits have. These mobile suits are still great if you can surround them with units that can take advantage of their buffs. For example, the Zaku 1 increases the damage of Zaku type allies, so to maximize this effect, you surround it with other Zaku type mobile suits. Next tier is A tier. We have the High New Gundam from Char's Counter Attack. This ignores defense, 452% attack modifier plus damage over time, 1530% damage. It also increases beam damage by 35% from the start of battle and increases beam damage by 17% when evading for 10 seconds. Next is the Unicorn Gundam NTD from Mobile Suit Gundam U.C. This is a high offense mobile suit with a lot of self buffs. It's on top of the list with regards to critical damage, and it does well with both beam and projectile damage. Next is Rick Dom for Get You. Heavy armor, high durability, high HP defense and reduction. The EX skill with high multiplier up to 1385% damage, and this one is best used in space terrain. Camphor from Mobile Suit Gundam 0080. This does continuous damage of 502%. for a total of 1270% to the enemy with the most HP. It also increases projectile damage by 29% from the start of battle, and this does well with both beam and projectile damage. Next is Gundam Mark II Titans from Mobile Suit Z Gundam. This is a single target attack with a modifier of 502% and a beam reduction of 50% for 20 seconds. Also increases beam damage after 30 seconds when the battle starts, when it receives damage, and it has high beam damage capabilities. Next is a full armor Gundam Thunderbolt version. This is from the Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt. It's heavily armored type with high durability, high HP, defense, and reduction. It also increases its own defense power by 50% for 20 seconds, and it reduces beam damage from the start of battle and recovers when guarding. So really good tank Gundam there. Next is the Gundam Prototype First Model from Mobile Suit Gundam 0083. This is a single target attack that has a modifier of 578%. Also restores 18% of maximum HP for ground mobile suits. Lastly, it has beam damage increase when EX skill is activated 30 seconds after the start of battle. And lastly, we have the new Gundam. This has a single target attack with a modifier of 722%, pretty high. Also increases beam damage when HP is 80%, 30 seconds after battle starts. And lastly, it has a beam damage reduction of 21% when the remaining HP is 50%. So most A-tier mobile suits are self-buffing, meaning they don't buff their allies but buff themselves. It's not really a bad thing because they are good anti-boss units combined with other mobile suits that provide party-wide buffs. So these are the other mobile suits that are part of the team when you have those S-tier mobile suits. And lastly, we have the B-tier. We have the Banshee from Mobile Suit Gundam U.C. This has an attack that targets the enemy with the lowest HP with a modifier of 502%. Also recovers 45% of maximum HP. And lastly, beam damage increases when starting battle or evading. Next is High Mobility Type Zaku 2. It also targets an enemy with the lowest HP with an attack with a modifier of 318%, increases movement speed by 50% for 20 seconds, and this is from an event. We have the Gundam Blue from Mobile Suit Gundam, single target attack with a 597 modifier. It increases beam damage when evading 30 seconds after the battle starts, and this one is the pre-registration reward. Next is the Sinanju from Mobile Suit Gundam U.C. This one targets the enemy with the highest HP with an attack that has a 502% modifier. It also increases its own critical value by 50% for 20 seconds. It increases beam and projectile damage by 18% from the start of battle. Next, we have the Goof. Mobile Suit Gundam inflicts stun state on one enemy for 5 seconds. Also increases projectile damage by 14% from the start of battle. And when its X skill is activated, it increases projectile damage by 21% for 10 seconds. Next is a Gun Tank from Mobile Suit Gundam. This inflicts a stun state on an enemy with the lowest HP for 5 seconds, increases projectile damage by 16% for 30 seconds at the start of battle. And lastly, when its skill is activated, it increases projectile damage by 21% for 10 seconds. Next is the Goof Custom from Mobile Suit Gundam 8th MS Platoon. This inflicts a stun state on the enemy with the highest HP for 5 seconds, increases projectile damage by 16% from 30 seconds after the start of battle, and lastly, increases projectile damage by 22% when the HP is below 60%. Next is Angelos Jira Zul from Mobile Suit Gundam U.C. Increases red mobile suit beam damage by 18% for 20 seconds, beam damage by 14% from the start of battle, and beam damage by 21% 10 seconds each time EX skill is activated. Next is a Quibbly Mark II from Mobile Suit Gundam ZZ. This reduces beam damage for all enemies by 30% for 20 seconds. It also increases beam damage by 14% from the start of battle. And lastly, increases beam damage by 21% for 10 seconds each time the EX skill is activated. Next is Metas from Mobile Suit Z Gundam. This recovers 62% of maximum HP of the ally with the lowest HP. Increases beam damage by 14% from the start of battle. And lastly, increases beam damage by 18% when evading for 10 seconds. And lastly, we have the Lizal Mobile Suit Gundam U.C. This has a single target attack that ignores defense with a modifier of 395%, increases beam damage by 16% from 30 seconds after the start of battle, and lastly, beam damage by 21% for 10 seconds each time EX skill is activated. So the B tier mobile suits aren't really strong, but they have strong support abilities for debuffing and buffing. So you can bring them if you have a really strong mobile suit from the other tiers. Or if you really don't have a UR mobile suit, you can just use this Lizal mobile suit. It has a powerful attack with defense ignore. So that's it for the tier list for the mobile suits. We hope that you found this guide useful, and we'll see you in the next one.